Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. We invite you to join our community of music celebration below by subscribing for our daily content. Hit that bell so you never miss out on our content. You can also become an honorary patron to help us curate this great history of the rock era. That just means more interviews, more stories from the artists. Now today we go behind the classic rock standard, Crazy on You by the supreme goddess of the arena, Ann Wilson of Heart, along with former Heart members, bassist Steve Fossen and drummer Michael Derosier, who were in the band in the mid-70s when Heart started the fire. Here is the story of a sanctified rock composition. Let's talk about Dreamboat Annie. In the summer of '75, you had some success on the radio, so you got to open for Rod Stewart, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
That was like a movie moment. We were playing out at this cabaret out in Edmonton. No, excuse me, out in Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
You don't make that mistake. You do not confuse those. Out in Calgary, called the Dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a place in the 70s where usually the bands that played there were all dressed in orange matching jumpsuits and played the Commodores and stuff like that. Well, we were playing Led Zeppelin and, yes, like Siberian Quattro and, the Crunge and stuff like that. And it was not going over well. And we were saying kind of snooty things from the stage, punky things from the stage.
Right.
And so we got fired. It was really my fault. I said something about there was a buffet dinner that they would give the people in the club every night before the music, and it tasted of Pine Sol, the cleanser. So I mentioned it from the stage, right? Real smart. So we got called in after the set, and we were going to get fired anyway. This was just the
precursor, sure.
The thing the straw that broke the camel's back. And so we were fired. Pack your stuff up, get out of the hotel, That same night, we got a call from Vancouver, from our label saying, you got to help us out, The band that was opening up for Rod Stewart in Montreal can't make it. You guys are in the middle of the country. You could make it. And it's just a little opening slot, 35 minutes or so. But it was at the Montreal Forum. And so we got on a train and went, one door shuts and another one opens.
Oh, yeah.
And we got there and walked up on stage and were unaware, but our album had been being played in Montreal already by this guy, Doug Pringle.
Right.
And so they knew the music. And we walked out and all the matches were already lit.
Oh, man.
That
must have been a moment.
Yeah, we didn't understand it. It was a confusing moment at first. It was like,
Yeah.
Is that for us?
Yeah.
Is Rod Stewart standing behind us going like this? But no, I'll never forget it. It was really one of those.
Oh, yeah. Heart moments.
Yeah.
Let me go crazy on you.
And the place just went nuts, erupted. And I don't think I've had goosebumps that heavy ever in my life until that moment.
You got to tell them about Raj and the piano.
Well, Rod Stewart and the Faces, everything was white.
Everything was white.
Drum set, guitars, 8 amps, everything was white.
Grand piano.
And, Raj was a smoker, and he sets his cigarette
during sound check.
During sound check, sets it on the piano, and I guess he forgot about it.
Forgot that it was there.
So after we get done playing, we're all back in the dressing room. We're all going like, "Oh man, that was awesome!" Because people loved us, and they knew most of the music, and they loved us, and we were so proud and happy and everything. And then I can't remember what the piano player's name was.
It wasn't Denny Lane, was it? I don't. Small Faces. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, he comes barging into the dressing room and says, "You're buying me a new piano."
He'd burned a big, long, nasty thing in the top of the
white
piano.
So Raj ended up just refinishing that part of the piano. But
Yeah, that was just the first in many Roger stories. Just little things that happened to us along the way.
Crazy on you. Man, your voice, every time I hear that song, just incredible. And I've heard so many different stories about it. There's all these urban legends that, the song was written about your lover, the song was written about Vietnam, the song had to do with mushrooms as well. Straight from the horse's mouth, what is that song about?
Mushrooms, I hadn't heard that one. That's a good one, though.
Yeah.
It did have a lot to do with mushrooms, yeah. But that wasn't the reason, that wasn't the main thrust of the song. The song was, I wrote the words about the state of the world and the stress effect it was having on me. Back then, we thought the world was really messed up, right?
Yeah.
Huh? And just like because the Vietnam War was going on, and we were choosing to, but staying out of our own country, you know. And we missed home. We were homesick. The crime was rising. Gas was expensive. Gas shortage. All this horrible stuff, you know. We had no idea what was going to happen in later years. So it seemed at that time to be, you know, this is the end of the world. This close to the apocalypse, you know, and it was very, very stressful when you're in your 20s and you don't see a good future. So that's why I wrote the words.
everybody was, at the time, was affected by the Vietnam experience. My buddies went over there, and some buddies didn't come back from high school.
And then, of course, at that time I was in love, so I addressed it to him, and I just said, "Thank God I have you."
It's classic rock standard, and it kind of brought in that signature combo of the acoustic with the electric, and the fact that the record sold 30,000 copies in Canada.
Yeah.
Which, that's quite a success for an indie. You were an indie band, really.
Yeah.
You know?
An indie band, and it's a much smaller populated country.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was pretty big. And we worked it hard. Mushroom Records had no great big distribution thing in place. And, you know, it wasn't until we were able to get back down to the States and get on a larger label that things really got into the millions, you know. But that was a real good start. It was
Absolutely.
It was a great launch.
It went to number 35 on the pop charts in America, but it's much bigger than its chart position. I mean, it's one of those songs that's still...
Okay, well, here's the thing of it is, with Dreamboat Annie, we would go play, say we played the Midwest a little bit, and so the record company would ship albums to the record stores in that area. So people would hear us, and of course, once they heard us, they'd start buying. So it would bubble up there, and then we go to the East Coast, which was a few weeks later, and same thing, bubble up there. Then we go to Southwest, same thing, it would bubble up, and Southeast, and so it never really got all
of them at the same time.
All at the same time. So that's why it probably could have gotten a lot higher on the charts.
Nancy said she was inspired by the movie
Justin
Blue
Hayward,
Questions.
yeah. They had a song called Questions.
When we're knocking at the door with 1,000 million questions about hate, death, and war.
Justin Hayward is such an underrated songwriter and player, especially in later years. I think they had a few albums off the top that were quite revolutionary, like Days of Future Past, In Search of the Lost Chord, and that really thing was a tip of the hat to Justin Hayward, definitely.
I remember when we first moved to Canada, we lived in this little round house. It was even smaller than this area of this room, and we had Ann and Mike, who were boyfriend and girlfriend, Roger and his wife, and I had a wife and me and a small child, and we all lived in this little, room. And we listened to Moody Blues, Elton John, all the time.
Wow.
And Moody Blues was a big influence on Ann for sure, and me too. I remember Days of Future Past was one of the first LPs I ever bought when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
And we ended up, for our club band, we played quite a few of those songs during the night for years, back when we were, in our early 20s.
Well, it's been used in so many different things.
Going too fast.
Harold and Kumar,
We still have time, might still get by.
Virgin Suicide's on the soundtrack.
Gotta get back before paycheck.
And then Eminem sampled it, Crazy in Love. Yeah.
Yep.
What did
I
you
like
think
that
about
one.
that?
I like that one.
Performing it at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when you guys got inducted, I mean, that was probably pretty special. Tell me about that moment.
What I remember about it is the very first time we played it at rehearsal. We hired a private rehearsal room and we all went there and played it. And the very first time we played it, it could have been recorded and that could have been the performance on TV because it was flawless.
Yeah, just
Geez,
back,
after
right
that
back.
many years.
Yeah.
Yeah, you fall right back in. Wow. It was, yeah.
That's amazing.
And, we have Mr. Roger Fisher, who's very flamboyant, but he's not that flamboyant in rehearsal. So he was concentrating and playing, But then when you're flamboyant, of course, that your focus is flamboyancy, not music.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got to get a balance there.
Let me go crazy, crazy on you.
What the hell took him so long? I think that's what most people feel as well. But
Well, I don't know. It's a pretty political process, I think, of who.
especially for women.
Yes, yeah. Well, I wasn't even going to say that, but since
I'll
you
say
did,
it. Hey, I will. Because
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of women that are not in there that were
they do have a
lot of bands
have a
too.
woman issue. It's remarkable that Joan Jett finally gets
Yep.
inducted. Mm-hmm. But she is in such a minority, and that's not natural.
No.
I don't know what the problem is there. I think it's because as a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, I can tell you firsthand that you don't pitch to get yourself in there.
No.
You have to be invited.
Thank you so much for watching. Leave us a comment about Ann and Nancy Wilson and this classic rock standard. What memories are tied to Heart and this song? Love to hear those. You can also get Heart's albums below by clicking on our Amazon links. If you like our content, we invite you to join our community. We'd love to have you. Subscribe to the channel below. Also, again, you can become an honorary patron now. We're putting together some exceptional bonuses for our patron subs right now. You don't want to miss out. And your Patreon support helps us so much. More interviews just helps us create this content to remember these songs. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends. Stay safe.